Hey, it's Nick Thorne from Wing for Life, and in this video I'm going to show you how and why you would chop the wingtips off your Armstrong 232 rear wing. Let's check it out. Okay, so the Armstrong 232 rear wing comes looking like this. It's got these nice wingtips on it, and it has these dotted crossed lines that on the back just say Chop Shop. If you go on Armstrong's website, it just says that you can loosen up the feel of your hydrofoil by just simply chopping off the wingtips. And that's because this is made from a carbon fiber wrap around a foam core, but the wingtips are pure carbon fiber, so you can just chop them off yourself. Now, why would we want to do this? It's always hard to describe what we feel when we're on foil, trying to get that into words. Some people relate to different words. So to give you an idea, when I chopped the wingtips off this, because I have both of these, now the reason I did it is because I damaged one of these. I didn't think it would be able to be repaired. My friend was able to repair it, and I thought, I'd already bought a new one, and I thought, hey, let's chop the wingtips off and see how it feels. Now, I recommend you do this if you do have two. If you have one, once you chop it off, obviously you can't put them back on if you don't like it. So I really like this because I have two setups. Now, the main difference between these two, or the difference that I found when I chopped off the wingtips, was that it did give it a looser feel. Now, to describe that, it felt like the turning point on the hydrofoil was closer together, in that I could turn the board really quickly, or sort of turn it on a dime. It mainly changed the yaw characteristics of the board as well, so I could yaw it left and right really quickly. It went a little bit faster, not much faster, but it was mainly that yaw capability that I noticed. Like, the board wanted to turn, and when I turned it around, I could really whip that board around. Now, I would say it's a bit more for an advanced or intermediate rider. So if you're not happy with the performance of the 232 and you want to loosen up those turns, you want to get into a turn really quickly or exit a turn really quickly, which I think is really good for wave riding. If you're going to go on the flat and you want a bit more stability, leave the wingtips on. But if you want to loosen up those turns, chop it off, and it really does make a difference. You can feel the difference. Okay, so let's have a look at how I chopped off these wingtips. Now, I do not have any special skills in these areas, so if I can do it, that means that you can do it as well.
All I did here was put the foil in a clamp and just grab an old hacksaw and started on the trailing edge of the foil, right where the dotted line starts. It's definitely a bit daunting doing this to a nice piece of foiling equipment. So I just cut straight down here. The idea being, I'm not going to follow the dotted lines with the hacksaw. I'm going to put the shape in the foil with sandpaper. So the first cut just went straight down. And you can see that inside of the wing is just pure carbon fiber. So you can see there's no foam core. You've just cut straight through the carbon fiber. Then I just changed the angle of the foil and made another cut along the leading edge of the foil this time. So there's two cuts that I will then sand back to give the foil the shape along those dotted lines underneath the foil. You can see that my cuts are pretty rough and that I've left a little bit of foil outside of the dotted lines. Make sure that you do this so you then have some of the carbon fiber to sand back and give the shape. Do not cut inside of the dotted lines. Make sure you cut outside of the dotted lines. After making the two cuts, all I did now was just take some fairly coarse sandpaper and start to shape the foil along the shape of those curved dotted lines. You also might want to consider wearing a mask so that you don't breathe in some of the carbon fiber dust. Once I've got most of the shape with the fairly coarse sandpaper, I then went down to some much finer sandpaper to finish it off. I used about, I think, 400, an 800, and then a 1200 to finally finish it off. And with the fine sandpaper, you may want to use it while it's wet to give it a really smooth finish. Just make sure that the new leading edge is nice and smooth and not going to have any turbulent flow from the water flowing over it. So that's how I cut down the 232 rear wing. I simply just made two cuts each side, and then I shaped it with sandpaper to get the shape along the dotted lines that I liked. You can see putting it on top of the other wing, I feel like I followed those lines quite well, and it was fairly easy to do. Hope this video has given you a few little guidelines on how to do it, or made you a bit more confident to make the cut yourself. I have enjoyed the different feel with this Chop Shop rear wing, and it's nice to have both of these two rear wings are in my quiver. I've mainly been using the Chop Shop 232 when I go into the surf and I really want to try and carve up a wave. I've also been using it with the new 1125 front wing from Armstrong. The Chop Shop just gives it a bit better turning performance. Hope this video helped you out, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the water. Cheers.